Okay, hello everyone. So this is gonna review the third assignment for this module, right? So I'm just gonna go through this. Okay, so the instructions. So for this exercise, you must read Maxime Bakazin's Field Research in Minority Communities: Ethical, Methodological, and Political Observations by an Insider. These questions are drawn from and inspired by Section 6.2 from Booth's et al.'s Engaging Sources Actively, which is page 88 in their text. Okay. When you respond to the prompts, you may write paragraphs for each point you address, but you must address the prompt entirely. You're not required to write a formal essay for this module. So what I really want you to do is just write a paragraph response to what I've written. You don't necessarily need to put this in a formatted essay. Okay. So the first prompt that I want you to address is this one. After you have read Bakazin's article, what reaction do you have towards it? Do you agree? Do you disagree? In either case, provide a specific passage you are reacting to and why you are reacting to that passage. So this is pretty much what, like I had you do at the beginning with Howard Beckard's characterization of how he understands undergraduates when they're first assigned their research project, and they tend to fall back on the courses that they've taken, which is perfectly fine. But he sort of makes an argument that that's not perhaps the best way to go about it, because it starts closing off that particular student from really paying attention to other potential and relevant information or perspectives that they might be able to incorporate as they go through writing their manuscript about whatever topic they're going to discuss. Okay. So that's for prompt number one. So for prompt number two, if you were to use Maxime Bakazin's article for your work, why would you select this source? Be specific. No vague or incomplete thinking. Think through how you'd utilize Bakazin's manuscript in your writing. What would the article contribute to understanding your relationship to your research? All right, and this sort of goes back to what I mentioned before, is that sorry, and what this is called is actually called the researcher's stance or the researcher's position in relationship to their topic or object of study. All right, because based on how a person sees things and how they come to understand things based on their experiences, it tends to color or frame how they see or take in information and how they're going to utilize that information when they interact with individuals directly or indirectly. And indirectly in this situation would be through writing. Okay. So that's what I'm specifically thinking about. So then, if you were ever going to consider to using Maxime Bakazin's article, why would you use it, and why would that be an important source for you to use? Right. So you have to sort of like look at what she says, and then sort of think about critically how you could potentially use them, or her ideas to help you frame the topic that you're interested in. All right, so like that's the reason why I'm having you or address this particular prompt. Again, if it doesn't make any sense, just send me an email for any clarification, or stop by my office hours on Wednesdays. Okay. Okay, so that's for point number two. So prompt number two. So then go to prompt number three. So this is what you're going to address. How would you assess Maxime Bakazin's article as a piece of sociological writing based on your argument on your understanding of sociology? Critically think about what you have learned through the various sociology courses taken, and hint, use Richard and Paul. Sorry for that typo. I'll fix it. For Paul, sorry about that. Actually, let me just finish going through this and then I'll fix it. Sorry about that. Okay. Using Paul and Linda Elder's "How to Write a Paragraph," and I'm thinking more specifically about exploring key ideas within a discipline or within disciplines. All right. That's page 35. All right. So then I'm having you assess Bakuzin's article as a piece of sociological work. And the reason why I included this parenthetical comment is because I want you to think about not only, taking this course, but what other courses in sociology have you taken? Because the idea is, and it doesn't matter if it's sociology, political science, chemistry, history, biology, physics, all those courses taken in total or in their cumulative effect, it's supposed to give you an image of the discipline of your choice, right? If you're a sociology major, why have you taken it, right? Why have you taken sociology as your major, or what drew you? Sorry, what drew you to sociology as a major, right? And then, so let's, for example, let's say that you've taken the sociology of education, or the sociology of the family, or sociology of well, before it used to be called uh, sociology of life and death, meaning the whole life cycle, but now I think it's called longevity, right? Or some schools have called it longevity. Okay. Um, but the main thing is that when you take these courses are supposed to provide you, like, what are the how does sociology approach this particular topic: globalization, education, the family, death and dying. There you go, the sociology of death and dying, right? And what insights these particular approaches can offer you, but also what could be the potential limitations, or what problems or issues they're not able to address. Right. So this is part of your developing a sociological imagination and developing critical thinking. Okay. So like that's why I put that comment, is like, really think about the courses that you've taken in the past. Don't think about the grade. Think about the content, and how did the content impact or shape the way how you see things or come to understand things today. All right. So hopefully that makes sense. But also, to sort of give you an idea, go to Richard and Paul's text, or yeah, the text on how to write a paragraph, and see what they say about exploring key ideas with disciplines. And it goes from like page 35 to page 39, I believe. Yeah, to page 39. All right, so you just want to review those pages to see what they say, and you could use them as empirical evidence to make the point that you're trying to get across, in terms about talking about sociology, but more specifically how Bakuzin's article is a piece of sociological writing. All right, so I'm having you assess her type of writing in sociology. I hope that makes sense. And again, if it doesn't, just let me know by stopping by during my office hours, or sending me an email, or stopping by, or to make a Zoom appointment, or stopping by during my virtual office hours. Okay. And then the last prompt is, how would you use Richard and Paul and Linda Elder's The Figuring Mind? And that's the little book on the miniature guide to critical thinking, right? To assess Maxine Bakazin's article. So I'm gonna go over 4A and 4B. So this is what you're gonna do. So the figuring mind comprises of three parts. All right. So I'm describing the page to you. So the first one is an observing the object. So it has like a blue head, and it's looking at an object, like arrows coming out of its eyes, which is representing vision or observation. And this is represented by a sketched head looking at some object on page 18. Number two is made up of two blue boxes. Right. The first box describes that there is a logic to figuring something out. To construct a system of meanings which makes sense of something. And the IBD is just a fancy way of saying it's on the same page of the previous citation, which is page 18. Okay. And then the second box describes an intellectual standard. Again, page 18. And then the third element is it is made up of two boxes. One box has blue and white stripes, and the other box is colored blue with white text. The blue and white box represents the elements of thought, reveal the logic, which shows 8 points. The solid blue box with the white text is labeled the intellectual standards. All right. So then what I want you to do is to sort of, all right, understand what this image is saying. All right. So you have the head that's at the top of the page, more or less. And in the middle, there are two blue boxes sort of explaining what are the directions that you can take as you are reading Maxime Bakazin's article, and then what it could lead you to. Okay, so that's the first part, is just understanding what you're looking at, and then four B. So you will relate the first part of the diagram to discuss the logic of Maxime Bakazin's article, meaning she's looking at the idea of the insider outsider research relationship. So that is the object that she's looking at. So I want you to explain what that necessarily means in the context of how Paul and Elder described this diagram on page 18. Okay. The second part assesses how Bakuzin constructs her logic to describe and explain the tension between an insider and outsider perspective during the research project. So then you're going to be looking at the two blue boxes. And then, just for an example, the first box asks you, there is a logic to figuring out something, to constructing a system of meanings which makes sense of something. So then what you're going to do is that you're going to take this and then assess what Maxine Baca says and pay attention to the logic of her argument. Right. Because another comment that I've made on certain papers is sort of pointing out or critiquing the problem of logic. Right. Like, and I think I wrote this not too long ago, where A plus B equals C. That is a logical sentence, mathematical sentence. So then you're looking at how the argument is being made, or the logic of the argument. Does it make sense? Right. So then again, I'm having you fall back on what your understanding of sociology is and how you're able to apply that understanding of sociology to evaluate someone else's ideas about sociology and how research is done, and maybe in as well as writing. Right. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay. Um, excuse me. So then you have like the issue of the vision, right, and then the logic, and then the last part. What you're going to do is sort of look at what is written in the blue and white box, and as well as the blue box with the white text. And what you're going to do is you're only going to select one from one box and one element from the other box, and use one of those points to talk about Maxine Bakazin's article. All right, so like for example, let's say that I want to look at point number 3 in the blue and white box, which is some question or problem we want to solve. So then the question becomes, what question or issue is Maxine Bakazin presenting to the reader? And this is the issue of the insider outsider controversy. But why is that a controversy? Right? Why is it, per Bakazin's writing, why is that particular point necessary to understand when a person does research? Right? As well as writing, because writing is it's a public act, but it's also a personal decision making process where you as the writer have to decide how and when and where you're going to represent those things to a reader in your manuscript. Right? So writing is a very powerful tool. Right. And then you're going to do the same thing with the dark blue box with the white text, is just identify one of the elements and use one of those elements to assess Maxime Bakazin's writing. If you're not sure how Paul and Elder define it, the next page, actually be page 19 and 20, provides a definition of how they define clarity, precision, relevance, accuracy, depth, breadth, logic, fairness, and sufficiency. Right, and you can select any one of those terms to discuss Maxine Bakazin's article. Right, right. So hopefully that makes sense. So you're, just to be clear, you are not using all of them or part of them. You're only selecting one element from each box, the blue and white box as well as the blue box with the white text. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. And yeah, so then I'm gonna stop it here, and then I'm gonna do the last page of the module.